All right, so what's going on? Got a video today I wanted to make when I got the CRKT Overland that I did a review on, budget version. This is the same knife right here, but this is the Millet knives Overland, designed by TJ Schwartz, the knife designers, I think his website. Something like that. But he has a lot of designs with CRKT, and then they made a more premium version of this knife with Millet. So I thought it would make for a good comparison video. Also to let you know, like, hey, if you like the design a lot, is it worth ponying up the extra money? Because this knife is probably 50, 60 bucks. This is the Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive with the D2 steel. Whereas this one is more around 250 from Millet. They're not available at the moment. I bought it secondary market, but they are out there. So question is it worth paying the extra money to get the premium version? And I kind of want to talk about that, as well as there is some slight differences between these two, even though they look nearly identical, right? Obviously, materials is the number one thing. This is a stainless steel frame lock. This is titanium. It's going to have S35 VN steel on the Millet version. The Overland has typically D2 or I believe 8CR13 if you don't get the Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive, which I would definitely recommend. Materials are going to be different. That's going to be the difference in price, country of origin, China, United States, Idaho. As you can see here, the pocket clip is different as well. The pocket clip on the CRKT is a deep carry clip-ish. I mean, you still have that much of your knife hanging out, but it's got a nice full over clip. The clip on the Millet is very stiff and not deep carry. And I gotta be honest with you, I prefer the CRKT's clip over that one. It's really difficult to get it in and out of your pants. Like, there's no gap. There is a gap, but it's not enough gap there, like where the clip, and it's stiff. Like, it is stiff as stiff. Like, this one is spring steel, obviously, and it's a lot easier to put in and out of your pocket. Plus, it has a little bit more deep carry to it. So, I actually prefer the CRKT clip for sure. And they're not interchangeable, different hole pattern. Another difference is, and you'll see this from the beginning, this is thicker a little bit in the hand. You can see in the backspacer, especially the backspacer here is aluminum anodized. This is G10. The pivot collars are aluminum anodized on the CRKT. They're G10 on the Millet. You can see the G10 pattern is exactly the same, just different colors, tan versus black. But the overall, and then obviously this is titanium, so it's going to have a steel lock bar insert. Thumb studs look pretty much identical. Blade stock looks to be, I'll measure here in a minute, looks to be identical as well. Grinds are pretty much identical, so a lot of similarities. But first thing when I noticed this when I got it is it runs on phosphorus bronze washers, so it's smoother. It's not drop shut smooth, but it's smooth. It's actually really smooth. I like it. The action on this one is definitely better. This one runs on Teflon, so obviously cheaper. It has a good, pretty snappy detent though. I would say the detent is actually better on the CRKT. This one's a little light. When you middle finger flick it, sometimes it fails like that. But on this one, the middle finger flick is like a no-go because it's so stiff. Well, no, I just did it. So somewhere in between would be nice, but the detents are different as well. So that's not surprising. Let's look at the thickness because I think the blade stock thickness is the same. So let's see here. We've got 0.1225 on the blade stock. Oh, it's thicker on the CRKT. Not by a lot, but 1.128. So a little bit thicker blade stock on the CRKT. Thinness behind the edge. Let's find that out. CRKT is going to probably be thicker. It's like 22 thousandths. How about the Millet? Yeah, it's thinner for sure. More like 18, so it's going to be a better cutter. So you are going to get better. Hold on a second. Let me redo that. Actually, it's about 20. No, about 19.5. So it's a little slicier, a little thinner behind the edge. So a little bit thicker blade stock on the CRKT than this, and then the handle thickness has got to be bigger. I mean, just feeling it in hand, it feels thicker. It's still very thin on the CRKT at 0.422 inches. If you do the Millet though, yeah, it's under 4. It's probably one of the thinnest knives that I've ever had. Like, Let me pull out the Benchmade bug out, which is also a thin knife, measure it. And it's, okay, the bug out is slightly 0.377. It's 0.368. What was this one? A little bit thicker. So it's slightly thicker in the handle than the Benchmade bug out. And it's a frame lock, which is, you know, surprising. Benchmade can do that with the access lock. It's hard to do that on a frame lock. So it's a very, very thin knife if that's your thing. So the thickness on the blade stock's a little thicker on the CRKT. The handle's thicker on the CRKT. The edge is also a little thicker on the CRKT. Obviously the weight is going to be different too, because one's stainless steel, one is titanium. Without question, the titanium's going to be lighter. So the CRKT version is 3.5 ounces. The Millet is 2.7. So, you know, 0.8 ounces. Pretty considerable difference in weight. So those are the major differences. But I got to be honest with you. Is this knife worth that much more than this one? Well, of course it's going to be more expensive because you have materials, titanium versus stainless steel. The blade steel is going to be more expensive for S35 versus D2. And the country of origin, it makes a huge difference. Made in the US, you know, small batches versus mass produced in China. So obviously going to be a price difference. But is the price difference, is it worth the extra $250, or not $250, probably roughly 200 bucks, we'll call it. Could be off a little bit of my price on the CRKT. But let's say this is 50, this is 250, it's pretty close. Is it worth that extra $200? Obviously that's gonna be up to you, but for me, getting both knives in and handling them, I actually, in a lot of ways, prefer this model. It's thicker in the hand. They're both very, very thin knives. This one is thin, but it's not too thin. This one's too thin. It's crazy thin. I mean, it melts away in your hand, but it feels just too thin. Like, it doesn't feel robust. It doesn't feel like, it just doesn't feel good. It's almost too thin. You know, that 1/2 inch or less mark is always good on a handle thickness, but I tend to lean more towards the closer to the 1/2 inch just because it gives you just a nicer feel in your hand, fills out your hand more. This is so thin. It's obviously lighter, which is good. I take the lightweight, but this is not a heavy knife by any means. 3.5 ounces, considering it's got a steel frame lock. That's pretty light. Pretty well done on that point. The jimpian is identical, pretty much. You will notice though, the stop pin, this is actually a good thing to talk about. Even though this is thicker and the stainless steel is heavier, the stop pin is much more robust on the Millet. So there is one pretty big difference. So maybe this one, it overall would be more robust, beefier stop pin, but both of these knives are not what I would consider to be hard use knives. They're not, you know, I don't think they're designed that way. It's an EDC knife. It's not like a, you know, it's not going to compete with like a Strider as far as, you know, its thickness and its robustness, right? Even like this Pina Mula to me is just, I mean, a smaller stop pin than the Overland, but it feels better. It just feels more robust in the hand, right? Even this CRJB Feldspar, this is the full size one in G10 and their proprietary RPM9 still. It feels more robust in the hand than the Millet does, on both versions. So to me, it's kind of a light duty use knife. So being that it's lighter, it's fine. But I think for me, the thinness of the handle is too thin on this one. I like this handle better. I also like the, honestly like the backspacer better on the CRKT and the pivot collar better on the CRKT. I like the color scheme better on this with the red and black versus, they do actually have this version in black. I could only find the tan on the secondary market, but it's like tan and orange. I like the tan and red, or the black and red a little better. I like this black wash coating versus just a straight DLC. I mean, there's things I like about this better. The pocket clip, definitely better, fills the hand better. So for me, this is one of those instances where the premium version of the knife is not worth the extra money. That's my opinion. Obviously, people are probably gonna argue that, but a lot of times that's not the case. You know, if there's a more expensive or nicer model of something that's like a budget version than like a custom or a mid-tech, typically I'm always gonna prefer the mid-tech, like 9 times out of 10, right? But not in this case. This is interesting. I wanted to try out this design, so I got the CRKT, which this is one of the giveaway knives. I'll do an update on that soon as well, waiting on a couple prizes to come in. This is, you know, so I got this, I liked it. thought I'm gonna get the more premium version. I saw it in the secondary market, and there's not a lot of these out there for sale. And I was like, yes, I'll grab it. And then I got it in hand, and I was like, yeah, there's some big differences here. It's thinner, it's lighter. I mean, that's not always bad. That might be what you're looking for. And, you know, obviously S35 is a step up from D2, and being made in America is awesome. It's going to cost more. And I don't think value-wise, this is good. I mean, $250 for S35, made in the USA, titanium frame lock, it's pretty solid. Like, Millet makes good knives too. You know, they do a lot of OEM work for, they did the other TJ Schwartz design, the Perpetua. It has the same blade shape for drop. I actually think that's the best buy of any of his designs. But anyway, so yeah, but this, and you know, getting this in hand and having it, it just doesn't do enough for me to say, yeah, totally worth the extra $200. It just doesn't. You know, I prefer a lot about this model, the CRKT version, which is crazy because it's crazy to say that, right? You're thinking, what are you talking? Are you smoking crack? No, but it just overall feels better. I think it's mostly due to the thickness in the handle, and then obviously the big cost difference. Now, if this was as thick if this had the same thickness in the handle, had the same type of pocket clip, then and then you'd have all those other good features of being made in the US. I mean, like I said, I like the backspacer better on this. I think that aesthetically, this is a better looking knife. That's just my opinion. Probably not gonna, you know, a lot of people aren't gonna agree with it, but that's okay. So I just wanted to do this quick comparison, guys. If you're in the market and you wanted to check it out, I would just kind of go with the budget one because it's a cool design and it's readily available from Smoky Mountain Knife Works for about $50-60. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video, and we will see you next time.